So I'm going to be showing you how I created a Telegram bot that sends trading signals as messages to your phone for free. For this, we're going to be using JavaScript, we're using Node.js and Python. Why we're using Python? Because Python is much faster at handling large data sets and running operations on large data. And for our bots, would need to collect data and run analysis and also send the signals in real time fast enough so that we can be able to take actions on the signals that are being generated. You don't want your code to be, you don't want it to come out, your analysis or your signals to be coming out too late before you can actually make trades on it. So for that, we're using Python and Node.js. The prerequisites before you could start this, you need to download and install Node.js on your computer. I'll be putting the link in the video where you can download Node.js, and you also need to have Python installed on your computer also. I'll also add the link to that. I'll be using dukascopy to collect price data, and well, I'm assuming you right now have Node installed and Python installed. In Python, the packages we'll be using pandas to analyze the data which is collected, and well, on our Node.js, we're only going to be using dukascopy-node and the Telegram bot API. Now, if once you've had Python and Node installed in your Python, you want to install pandas, and well, that should be all that is required for Python. And in your Node.js, you want to install dukascopy-node, and also there's dukascopy API, which would be used to collect the price data, and also the Telegram bot API. To do that, it's quite simple. After installing Node, you go to your command prompt, your Node command prompt, and you navigate to the folder where you'll be creating the bot in your command prompt. Say you are in the folder, all you need to do is to write npm install dukascopy-node and Node Telegram bots API. Now this installs the both packages in your Node.js. I'm not going to be running this because I have it installed already. Another thing before we could continue, you'd have to have a bot token which will be generated on Telegram with botfather. How you do that is to come on Telegram and search for botfather. When you've got here, you simply enter start. When you do that, you see it brings out this list of options, which is very much easy to understand. Like, you just read through the instructions and then you see how to create a new bot. To create a new bot, you just have to enter this command. It brings up so now it's asking what is the name of our bot. I'm not going to be doing this because I already have my bots, and well, it's very much easy to get by. You just need to go on Telegram and search for botfather, and everything is quite simple to get on from there. How we are going to be using the node is we're going to be using our JavaScript just to handle the bot process and call our Python scripts whenever they are needed. So our JavaScript is just the handler, while Python runs most of the processes. And you need to create a folder. In the folder, you see in my folder here, I have in this directory I have data. This data folder is where every of our price data that is collected is going to be saved. And see, I have this 5 to 30 converter. Why I have this 5 to 30 converter is because personally, for my personal preference, I'm choosing to run analysis and trade on 30 minutes candles, but I'm not collecting 30 minutes data from dukascopy. I'm collecting 5 minutes data from dukascopy. The reason I'm doing that is because sometimes dukascopy-node might have a lag, and if you are trying to collect the most recent candle, it might bring you the previous candle, which could be sometimes like 40 minutes or like to an hour late. But if you're collecting on shorter time frames, you'll be able to collect more recent data. So that's why I chose to collect 5 minutes data and convert it to 30 minutes. In your case, if you are choosing to trade on the 1 hour candles, you might want to convert it to 1 hour, or you might just want to collect 1 hour directly. Whatever is your choice is good. And if you're choosing to work with the same 30 minutes, and like I am working with in this example, you'd have to have the script also in the same directory where your JavaScript is located and your data folder is located. And the script is quite simple. You see here, I've imported pandas. I've read this data. This bot.usdjpi.csv is basically the name I will give to the file which I'll be collecting with dukascopy. I'm not going to be sending the collected file from JavaScript to Python. Instead, what I'm going to be doing is to collect the file with JavaScript, save it in this folder called data, then use the JavaScript to call this Python script, which already knows where the file is located, so it just gets the file and works on it. I won't be diving so much into the Python parts because this is just to show you how to create the Telegram bots with JavaScript. So but I'll be adding the Python scripts under the video, so you could download it and tweak or work with it in any way. And then this is the analyst. This analyst.py is what does the most work, is what actually does the analysis. See, I'm using pandas. I'm using star. This star is used to add moving averages and like other indicators to our price data. In here, you see I've already specified a file name, which is going to be the name that I'll use to save the file that is converted, when this 5 to 30 converter is done, you see it changes the file, it saves the file as 30 minutes data. So our analyst can just go and get 30 minutes data.csv and then run analysis and then check if there are signals generated. My signals are not really so much complex. They're just I'm choosing to use the EME21 and the EME100. In this example, we're going to be working with USD JPY, but you can use whatever currency pair you want, and you can use whatever moving averages you want. If you want the SMA 200 or the EME 200 or the EME 14, whichever you feel is best for you. I'm using the EME 21 and 100 just for my personal preference. It's not like a trading advice or saying it's something is one that works all the time. So I have the both EMEs, and I have a function to check if the candle is doji. I have a function to check if the candle is bullish engulfing and if the candle is bearish engulfing, and I also check if they are formed close to the EMEs, just for my personal preference. In my own trading experience, I've got to see that I I tend to pay more attention, and I tend to enter the market more when these signals are formed on the candles. Whichever works best for you, whichever you feel is most that works good, you just have to like tweak your Python to be able to handle for whichever signals you want. And I'll be adding the script under the video, so if you'd want to use this, or if you'd want to tweak this to whatever, you can get it under the video. Now going to our JavaScript. Yeah, the first thing we have to do is to initiate the packages. I assume you already have dukascopy installed from I'm going to be using the get historical rates function from dukascopy to get the price data. Mind you, there are other functions from dukascopy-node you can use to get price data, but I'm choosing to work with the get historical rates. And then also, since you already have Node, you already have Telegram bot API installed, so you have to initiate that also. And then yeah, FS, we are going to be using FS because we are going to be writing and modifying files, so you need FS for that. And then also we need the exec file function. This would be what calls our Python scripts whenever they are needed. Child process. The next thing we are going to do I have brackets. Yeah, I should have curly braces. So the next thing we're going to do is to impute our Telegram bot token, which we've gotten from botfather. It is a long string. I'm not going to be putting mine here, but you just have to replace this text with your token, and then we start an instance of the bot. token goes here, and then yeah. So now we're going to be initializing some variables. These variables will help us down the road in our code. This is monitoring, is just to check if our to check if the bot is already running. You know, when the bot is running, we want this to turn to true, and when it's not, we want it to be false. User chat ID. User chat ID is simply the ID of the user, which is entered, the ID of the user who has started the process from Telegram bots. You know, so just so our bot knows exactly where to send the signals when they are generated. And also we'll be having this this is our folder. The output directory is our folder, and you see I have one dot here just to show that, just to signify that this folder is located in the same directory where our code is located. If we have it in a subdirectory, we might want to put like double dots, or you know, this is just the path where our data is located. We're just doing it here so we don't have to always repeat the process of writing that. Well, you know, we would also want to check whenever the code is, whenever our bot is started, we'd always want to check if the folder exists, and if it doesn't exist, we want to write that. We want to use JavaScript to create the folder in this way. Yep. Now the first function we're going to be defining is the function that collects the price data from dukascopy. And we're going to first define this variable called now. This variable is just going to save the current time, because we need that when we are collecting our data. And then here the values of inputting here is, you see here we just have to put the currency pair which we're working with. You see there are a list of different currency pairs where I'm choosing to work with. I'm choosing to give an example with USD/JPY. I currently trade USD/JPY. Right, I just like the pair for its volatility, but I'm not so much of a pro trader myself, but in my experience, I just like to trade USD/JPY. Whichever pair you feel is what you trade more, or you want to get signals on, you just impute them in that instrument variable. And here we use the now that we collected earlier. Now I'm going to be collecting, you know, since I'm calculating the EMA 100, I'd need at least 100. I need at least 100 candles so that I'll be able to successfully calculate the EMA 100. That's why I'm collecting this much. I'm collecting this much data. if you are choosing to work, if you are choosing to collect, if you're choosing to calculate the EMA 200, you might need more, but it's best to just collect the optimum amount of data you need. If you're not calculating EMA 200, if you're calculating only the moving averages of say 50, you need to you might just need to collect just less. And here, this 1000 stands for the milliseconds. This 60 signifies the seconds, and this 3000 signifies the minutes. So I'm collecting this much because I'm collecting on the 5 minutes data frame. Not 5 minutes data frame. I mean I'm collecting 5 minutes candles. So I want to collect as much 5 minutes candles that when they are converted into 30 minutes candles, I still have at least 100 candles so that my EMA 100 can be successfully calculated. And then here you put our time frame. Here I'm using M5. You could use M30 if you just want to collect 30 minutes data directly. Used M30 here, or you could use H1. This is just each time frame is just signify what candles you are interested in collecting. I'm using M5 because I'm collecting 5 minutes data. And the way I'm using dukascopy, I am only using dukascopy to collect the data, but I'm not using dukascopy to save the file. I'm putting that to my JavaScript to save the collected data from dukascopy. So now dukascopy only collects the price data and puts it in this variable called data. So then I can that will be it puts it in the variable called data as like a list. So then I would convert that to my CSV file. This is the file that's then going to be saved into our data folder as in the CSV format. So this first line I'm defining here is just going to be the first line of our CSV, and so it's going to be the header, which is why I'm specifying all the names of the columns. And then here we use the map function. Yeah, we want to collect the time frame from our price data and change the time frame into the more readable time formats, which we would be able to visually understand, because the time frame that is gotten from dukascopy is just going to be the timestamp, which is just an integer. You wouldn't be able to analyze with that. You need more. You need it to be converted into real time frame, like in real time format, like in hours, dates, and minutes. Here we're just entering these variables that we passed up here. We passed these variables up here, so we're just now saving them into this CSV file, and then we want to write this CSV file to our file directory, and to do that we are going to use fs like this. Now here I'm going to just write the name of the file that is going to be saved. And you see this both USDJPY M5 is the same with what I've put in here, so that my Python can get the file. So this is why I'm specifying both. So whichever name you put in here, it should be what you'd want to be in here too. We're just going to specify that we want our CSV file to be added, and every item should be put in a new line. And then after we've saved the file, we want to delete the CSV file variable, just to clear space on our JavaScript. And we're going to be putting all this outputs, so just so that we can be kept in the loop as our program runs. And so if we have any error, we know exactly where the error is coming out from. Okay, now we've defined the function that collects data and saves it to our file folder. The next function we're going to be defining here is the function that converts the collected data. In this case, since we are collecting in 5 minutes and changing to 30 minutes, that's why we have this function. But if you choose to collect 30 minutes data directly, you might not need, we have an error, you might not need to have, okay, here, you might not need to have this function defined at all. You just collect the data and then go straight to the analysis. But since we are converting the price data from the smaller time frame to the 30 minutes time frame, is why we have to define this. And this is just a function that calls our Python script. And how we do that is simple. Here we just specify the name of our Python script, which is 5 to 30 converter, which I showed you earlier. Now if we have an error, we want to output the error message. If we have an std error, we want to also print that out. Else we can just then bring out our outputs. Our outputs from the Python comes in this std out variable, which would like to trim to just cut off excessive spaces, and just get the real get the real output. Now this function, the next function we're defining, is the function that calls our Python script, which would run the analysis for us. And how we do that is also very simple. Yeah, we just specify the name of our Python script, and then error. And if we have an error, let's see. also here we get our output. Yep. Now we've defined the functions that are going to be running analysis and converting our price data. Now we have to then just write the script for our Java, like write the script to handle our Telegram bot. And before we do that, we would want to we want to define this variable. This variable is just to store the last time we received a signal, so we don't get duplicate signals, like we don't get the same signals twice. Because in case where we have collected data and run analysis, and then we collect data in the next iteration, but dukascopy lag has not given us new price data, we'll be running analysis on the same price data we did in the last iteration. So we don't want our bot to be telling us the same thing twice. That's why we are defining this right now. So we're going to go on to our bot handling. The first thing we want is to define the commands. These are the commands that we enter in our bot. When we enter this bot, when we enter start, we want our JavaScript to run this function. Now the user chat ID, which we defined earlier, we'll save it, collect it from the chat ID of the person who has entered start on Telegram. Now we want to first check to ensure that the bot is not currently running, because our bot is going to be running in real time, so you don't want to have multiple instances of the bot running. So if the bot is already running, then we probably enter start again, we want the bot to just tell us that, yo, I'm already running. You should probably scream it out for us so we hear. Oh shit. Okay, but and then in the case where the bot is not running, we then want to save and to tell that now the bot is running, and then we'd have this here to send message to the user who has entered stats that we are now making the initial data call. Then we try. Oh shit, no. We want to always be in the loop on how the JavaScript operations are going. So we just keep giving output to let us know where we are. And then after that, we'd want to call the converter function. Like, once again, why we are converting is because we are collecting from the smaller time frame and converting into the larger time frame. You don't need this function if you are collecting 30 minutes data, or you are collecting whichever candles in the exact way you want to work with them. If you, per se, if you're trying to run analysis on 5 minutes candles, then you don't need directly on the 5 minutes candle, then you don't need to convert at all. You just need to collect data and then run analysis. But since I'm converting, I'd then put that here. Now, this is the main signal which we are going to be working with. Now we've told Python to check for signals and save the signals in this signal variable. But before we want to output that, we want to first check to ensure that we're not getting a duplicate signal. And to do that, we'd use regex to check the string which has been outputted from our Python to get the date to get the time of the last signal from our string, and then we can compare that with the time from our the time from the signal that is generated at the current time. This is just simple saying D to, now this is just saying okay, I have this wrong. Should be to yeah, this is basically saying from our string, we want to check for where a place where there are 4 digits and then hyphen followed by 2 digits and then hyphen followed by 2 digits, then a space followed by 2 digits. That's saying year, month, day, space, hour, minute, seconds. So we're just collecting time. This is basically to collect time. And then this will save the time that's collected in this variable. Or if there is not one collected, we want to save null just to ensure that we don't run into errors. Now we want to check if there is actually been a time collected, and then we also want to check if the time is not equal to this, then we can know that we are not receiving duplicate signals. So then we can output the signal that is generated to the user as this. And then we'd want to save the signal, the time of this signal collected, to be our last signal time. So then in the next iteration we can compare our time with this time. So if this condition is not met, it means we've gotten a duplicate signal. So we just want that to go to console. And then we want to this is also just to keep us in the loop. And then if we have an error, we want to send that to console. And also send a message that we had an error. Now we have run the first check for a signal, and then, well, since we want our bot to run real time, we'll use the set interval function. In my case, since I am choosing to work with the 30 minutes time frame, it means every 30 minutes I want every 30 minutes I want the my script to run, collect price data, run analysis, and check it for signals. So my set interval is going to be set for to run in every 30 minutes. If you want yours, if you are working with the 1 hour, if you're working with the 1 hour time candles, you would set yours to repeat every hour. And where you put the where you note the time is here. Here is 30 to signify 30 minutes to 660 and 1000 milliseconds. And here inside our loop, we are basically going to be running the same thing we did here. We're going to collect data, check for we're going to collect data, check for convert it, and then run analysis. So instead of writing everything again, we just use the most important tool in coding, which is copy and paste. It does it like really good. Just copy like so. Just start. So this guy should be here. Pardon me, well, my first time making a video like this, so pardon my errors. You see here, I should have true. Okay, so this is where we're going to be fixing in here. Now we just change this to signal check complete, and here we just change this to signal check error. Yep, so now we have defined the interval loop in which our bots would always just keep running for in this case every 30 minutes. Well, we also have to define other commands which our Telegram bots would work with. The first one we have to define is the stop command, so we can always just be able to kill the process on the Telegram bot. Say you're done trading for the day, you just want to be able to enter stop and make the bot stop running. And how we're going to quit the process is simply by saying to clear the interval. Once you clear the interval, JavaScript is going to stop the iteration. And also, well, if we enter stop when the bot isn't running, we want to tell the user that the And tell the user that the bot is already stopped. Okay, well, and if we're actually monitoring before, if it was actually running before, then we want to quit the process and say that. And also we want to define another command to always be able to check what the bot is doing at every given time. We'll define that as star as status. So it's just whenever the bot is running, say if you are choosing to run analysis on the 4 hour time frame, you don't want to have to wait until 4 hours before you be able to know that you have an error. You'd want to be able to check to know the current what is currently happening on your Telegram bots. And then we're going to do that by doing this. Check if it's monitoring. This is just a one line if else statement. We're saying if is monitoring, we'd want it to say bot is running, and if it's not monitoring, we want it to say bot is not running. Yep. So okay, and also just to handle for errors, you want to check for a polling error. This is like whenever there is like a network issue, you don't want that to just be the reason why the bus crashes. So we have this check to know whenever there is a polling error, we want to be able to handle it ourselves. Yep. So now we have our code, our JavaScript code, our JavaScript written completely. You just save this, and to run it, you'd go into Node.js on your command prompt and the locate where you've have the code for your bot. I have mine here. And then you then just simply write node and then the name of your JavaScript. Oh no, I entered the wrong file name here. It is supposed to be. Here we're supposed to write node, then the name of our now we have initiated the bot, but it's not running yet because now it's waiting for commands from our Telegram, and which is the commands we define the start, stop, and status. So if you go on your Telegram where you've in the bot, you just can go in the chat of the bot and then enter the command start. See, when I've entered the command now, here, okay, now our bot is running, and now it has checked to see that it is checked, but there's not a signal generated at this current time, so it just checks, and now it is waiting for the next 30 minutes to recheck and tell us if there is any signal generated. I hope this is helpful for you and your trading, and I wish you success. Please like, share, and subscribe to my page. It's like the first time I'm making a video, so it'll be really helpful to see interaction. So I'll be motivated to make more videos like this. Thank you.